Welcome to the KidLit podcast. Join Marty Dumas and Elena Page on their quest to help children's and middle grade authors find the right audience and sell more books.
Hi, and welcome to the KidLit podcast. I'm Marty Dumas.
And I'm Elena Page. Today we're joined by indie author David Blaze, who's an award-winning author of several highly imaginative and super fun children's books, including the popular Mr. Fox series, which I'm sure you've seen pop up because it's like, oh my God, I don't know what David is doing, but it's like bing, 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 bing. The fox ate my homework, the fox ate my cake, the fox ate my alarm clock, and more, which he's going to tell us all about. His goal in writing children's books as an author is to create books that are fun, tick, hilarious, double tick, and honest, absolutely, for kids of all ages and from all backgrounds. So welcome to the show, David. We're so privileged to have you on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here. You know, I've really listened to your show a number of different times, and I've gotten a lot of value out of it. So I really appreciate you having me here.
Okay, well, we're gonna turn the tables on you. We're squeezing you dry today, so you can refill the coffers from whatever you got. I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
So tell us a bit about your author journey from when you started to where you are now. Fill us in on who you are and how you've come to where you are at the moment.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, I didn't originally start as a children's author. Back in 2013, I created a number of short stories called Twisted Endings. I put them together as books. Originally, I got a publisher for them, sort of a bandy publisher called Publish America, which has changed their name at this point. And I was with them for 7 years before that. And the 7 years I had a contract with them, it sold one copy. And I knew while that was happening, it's got to do better than that. The day that contract ended, I had read about Kindle Direct Publishing and Create Space in Writer's Digest magazine. I was standing in Barnes & Noble, pulled out Writer's Digest, I was reading about it, and had an article about how ebooks were starting to sell better than paperback books. And it really blew my mind. I was like, is that possible? Do people really read ebooks now? It turned out to be true. So in 2013, I put it up on Kindle and on paperbacks, that same book, Twisted Endings. Over the next 3 years, it was selling an average of 500 to 1,000 copies a month. At that point in time, I knew there was something to this process. I mean, something amazing is happening here. 2013, 14, 15, I was easily pulling in $300, $400 a month. It changed my life, me and my families. I was working a full-time job. You know, an extra $300 a month, that's groceries and that's gas every single month is taken care of.
Yeah, no joke. Nobody is snubbing your $300 or $400 a month.
No, it was amazing. At that point, I felt like it changed my life, and it did, which was great because at the same time we had adopted my son. His name is Xander Blaze, but we had adopted him. I see you smiling. So we had adopted him, and extra money was for baby bottles and diapers and all that. Oh, it was amazing. But here's what happened. In 2016, I went from selling 12 to 15 copies a day to selling 3 to 4 copies a day. So after 3 years, there was a major drop in Amazon, something I never figured out. Because you listen to a lot of the groups, you watch a lot of groups on Facebook, and you see what they talk about drop-offs after 30 days and 90 days, a year, whatever the case may be. I've never experienced that, but I definitely experienced it after 3 years. And it was heartbreaking because when you go from $300 to $25 to $50 a month, you're like, what happened? I thought I was a writer. I thought I was doing good. Maybe it's just a short-term success and it's never going to happen again. At the end of 2016, I drafted 17 different story ideas because I wanted to come back. I needed that $300 a month back. I felt like I needed it. The Twisted Endings was really horror and suspense. It was for adults. The 17 ideas I drafted out, 16 of them were horror and suspense, but one of them was about a boy and a fox. Every time I looked over the ideas, I kept going back to the boy and the fox. For some reason, it just kept tugging at me like, this is what you have to write. I think it was due to my son, because while he doesn't love animals and everything, I wanted to present something to him that he's able to read as he gets older that provides values to him. Truly, values what it's about: family, friends, trust, honesty, all of that. So I thought I had unreasonable expectations. I put the book in print and ebook, of course, with a goal of making $500 a month from it. I don't know if you've ever written a book. When you write it, just get the sense, this book is going to do really well. I know it is. I feel like it is. I mean, I've written books before. It's like, it might do okay, it may not. But this one, I was like, I know it is. When I put it out, I remember I was aiming for 500. The first month of it coming out, December 2016, it did $200. I was kind of depressed, but not completely depressed. I'm like, okay. The second month, it did 300. The third month, it did 500. That third month is where I discovered AMS, Amazon Marketing Services. And I put up a couple of ads in AMS. Within 2 months, I went from $500 to $1,800 a month, in large part due to AMS. That's really where my journey comes from. I mean, I wrote more in the series after that because I wanted to see if it would do better. Honestly, as far as the series goes, My Fox Ate My Homework brings in 75 to 80% of my income in my sales, and the rest is 20 to 25%. But since then, I've sworn off horror, I've sworn off mystery and suspense. I'm like, they made good money, but this middle grade fiction I'm writing here, it's doing great. And I really love it. And I want to try to make a difference in other kids' lives. My own, obviously, of course, but as many kids as I can. And honestly, that's what I'm going to stick with. I really, truly enjoy it.
I love that you've gone backwards. Backwards meaning I'm constantly hearing of people who quit children's books and say, that's it, I've had enough of not making money. I'm going to go write adult books. And they still don't make money. So, ultimately it's a lesson in hearing you, finding, I think what really resonates for you. It sounds to me that, when you started writing the children's books, it resonated on a even much deeper level than just the money. Would you agree? Is it much more than that?
I 100% agree with you, because when you're writing things like horror and suspense, you're not putting your emotions and your feelings into it. At least I wasn't when I was doing it. It's really just a story. You're putting it out there, hoping people enjoy it, they have fun, you make some money off of it. When I'm writing for children, at least at the middle grade level, of course I want them to enjoy it and have fun, but I also want them to learn. Meaning what learning is values. I mean, that's extremely important to me, because you'll see plenty of authors and editors tell you that the problem with children's books is they have too much about values in them, and there really should be more about entertainment. I agree on a certain level, but I've had a huge amount of success providing learning as far as manners go, as far as values goes, and providing entertainment at the same time. And I mean, as far as recommending to other middle grade writers, I would probably recommend the same thing. I mean, to me, and this is me personally, I'm not saying this for everybody else. To me personally, the easiest thing in the world is writing a story. And a story is just this happened, and that happened, and that happened. But if you can write a story and show where the children actually learn something and they grow from it, I think that other children reading it, when they do, they have like an aha moment, like, even if it's subconscious, they're enjoying the story, but they're learning values at the same time. And that is very important to me. And I really hope it's had a huge effect.
So like so much of what you said has like clicks for me, if only in how much it connects to other like really successful children's and middle grade authors that we've already talked to, right? This idea of you knowing, and you didn't say it like this, but this is how I hear it, is you knew what the mission of the book was when you sat down to write it. You said you wanted to make something that would provide value to your son so that he could learn lessons. as well as be entertained. Like that is like that's really focused right there. And I feel like that's the thing that a lot of people who are successful are being able to say. And what you were saying, the last part about what you were saying about the lessons sort of being, or the way that I read it, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but the lessons sort of actually being the thing that connects kids to the story. Like it's almost like that's how they click in with the story. And so then, yes, they're being entertained, but also the thing that like makes them really feel bonded to the story in a way is some of the like lessons, the takeaways that they get from the story. It like makes it a part of their actual lives, which I think is really cool and like a really smart marketing tactic. So like, how are you using this in your marketing?
Well, as far as the marketing itself, it goes. I mean, AMS is what I use 90% of. Facebook is the other. As far as the ads themselves, I always put that it's basically a hilarious fantasy rather, about a boy and his talking fox. That ad itself on AMS, by the way, has been gold. A hilarious fantasy about a boy and his talking fox for children from 8 to 12 years old. I think it really provides a lot of different keywords in it, and it's really only like a 9 or 10 word sentence. Because one of the things that I've seen with AMS, which works really well for some people, is providing like a whole paragraph that tells a whole lot about the story and everything, which that's great when it works. I mean, I have 7 books at this point, and not all of them do as good as my Fox Ate My Homework does. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're talking about. For some of the other books I've written don't really provide the values and draw the connections and everything. And I mean, just to touch on that a little bit, have you ever put out books, you put out one book and you put up AMS ads for it, Facebook ads for it, and it seems to do really well. And you're like, okay, this is great. But then you write another book and you put it out. You do the same thing with AMS ads and Facebook ads. And you're like, this book isn't doing anywhere near as well. And it almost doesn't make sense because you've done pretty much the exact same steps. I think what happens is what we hear a lot of is the trifecta, which is basically the advertising ads itself, whether it's Facebook or Amazon or BookBub, which lead to your Amazon page or your Facebook, where to see your book cover and to see your blurb. The book cover is probably the most important thing. The blurb is also where you have certain copywriting and keywords in there where it all adds up. I think what a lot of us forget, I don't know if it's in all genres, but a lot of us, especially children's writers and middle grades, we have these expectations sometimes. If all 3 of those things are in order, trifecta, then we should be selling a lot of books. Remember, and you guys might still do this, I remember going into bookstores in the old days, and when you go to the bookstore, you find a book you like, you always read the first or second page of it. You read the back cover, and you read the first or second page to see if you connect to it. With Amazon, they do provide a preview of roughly 10% of your book. So while you could have all 3 things in a row there, as far as advertising, blurb, and cover goes, your customers can still look at the previews. That is the 4th part that I never really hear as far as the gurus go and what it takes to sell your books. The preview is of extreme importance. The first part of your book really does have to be some of your best writing and connect with the readers. Because if you don't connect with them, whether it's on as far as kids go, an educational level, entertaining level, whatever it may be, then while everything else worked out, they're still not going to get it. And I've seen that happen with my own books. And I'm sorry, going off track. I just want to point that out.
That's not off track. That's like the track right there. I'm writing stuff down. Okay, so how do you make sure that your previews are popping?
Honestly, I've always tried to make the first 10 to 15 pages the best they can be. I'm not big as far as adjectives and descriptions goes. I'm really big about presenting the person, the main character, which in this case is Joe. He's a 11-year-old going to a 12-year-old kid throughout the series. Really presenting how he feels about the situations and how they're affecting him directly. And I think that has a lot also to do with connecting with middle grade writers, is you're showing exactly how it's affecting the main character emotionally, because if they can connect on the same level, then again, that's gold. If they can connect with it, that's exactly what they want to see. And I forgot what we were talking about, but that's exactly what they want to connect with, and that's where it needs to go.
Do you test that on your son to make sure that he connects?
I don't know that. My son will turn 5 years old in November.
Oh, he's still little.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yeah.
So, and I wrote a book just a few months ago called My Little Fox Says Please, which is a picture book. Something I wanted to do for him specifically is something that he can connect with at his current age. Because my books, he's not going to really get into for the next 3 years or so. But at his current age, which he took to his school and his daycare and everything, and they all love it there, which is great. It's huge to me. And you know, one of your past guests, who I'm a huge fan of, Lori Wright, I've been following her since the beginning, really, because honestly, her success is something I've wanted to achieve. She's amazing to me. And she deals a lot with preschool and younger kids' books. And I just want to kind of follow exactly how she was accomplishing it to see if it's something that I could reach as well. Honestly, at this point, it's only 6 weeks later. I haven't. She is amazing. She's reached a market that I haven't been able to fully reach yet. I do well in middle grade, but we'll see about preschool. That may be a ways off.
Yeah, no, Lori is amazing. And she's like really, really generous, and yeah. She's very cool people. Can I like backtrack us a tiny bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I was waiting for David's like, nah, but that's, we're good. We'll go from there. So when you were talking before about making your first 10 to 15 pages as good as they can be, your son's still little, so you're not picking things on him. What are you doing? Like, how are you making sure that your first 10 to 15 pages are as good as they can be?
Well, to be honest, one thing that I try to attract as far as readers is what we call reluctant readers. And that's where I think I'm a huge fan at. What that means is I don't really have any $10 words, $20 words, or $50 words. My sentences themselves typically don't go over 7 words, 6, 7 words. I want to reach as many readers as possible, but at this age, I'm normally trying to reach mostly 7 to 10-year-olds. I will go up to 12. But a lot of kids at that age, it's really the golden age of reading, read books specifically for book reports. And I get emails all the time about parents that my kid wrote a book report on yours. They really enjoyed it. And they want to get information from me about my life and everything, which is fine. I love it. And I find it really interesting that they like my book reports. I mean, it's somewhat about school. My fox ate my homework, and it's about a bully and a fox, of course. But I mean, in the first 10 to 15 pages, my chapters themselves are never going to be longer than 10 or 15 pages. In fact, I was looking at my second book today. It ranges 7 to 10 pages per chapter, which really reaches out to reluctant readers. And those are basically the kids that are not going to read 1 or 2 books a week or even a month. They only read a book really when mom or dad says, I need you to sit down. I want you to read this book. Or teacher says, I need you to write a book report. What's really important to me as well is when you can reach the reluctant readers and they're like, this book is really good. The reason why that's important, because if they read a book that they really associate, they find good, they're probably going to want to read more books. And hopefully that may turn them around from a reluctant reader to being a steady reader, or someone who enjoys reading more than just when mom and dad or teacher says, you have to read this book. But I mean, honestly, there's no secret to the first 10 to 15 pages. In fact, I think about it deeply. It's about reaching the kids on an emotional level. It's about finding something that they can connect with. In my case, all of them is about friendship. I think a lot of kids in schools, or some kids, not a lot of kids, that they don't have a ton of friends, which is fine. I didn't when I was growing up. You may only have 1 or 2 friends in school, which to me may be better. I'm not sure. But I think most people, kids and adults, it doesn't matter if you're a loner or if you like being around a lot of people. You want people to like you, and you want to have friendships with other people. And I hope to show kids that it's possible to have as many friends as you want, whether it's 1 or 100. And I think they really like that. You don't have to feel bad if you only have 1 friend or 2 friends. You don't have to feel bad at all. I think it's great.
How do you, as an author, distribute your time in terms of, promoting the books you've already written, and keeping them alive and healthy, and then creating new material? Do you think in children's books it's as important to create new material as fast as the adult writers need to, or can you sort of go more slowly? What's been your experience?
Okay. So I left my job back in March of this year. I've been working full time my entire life because I realized that I was making more money than I was at my job, and I had to try it. I mean, I've got to try it to see if I can make it long term. I believe I can, and I'll do everything that I can. When I was working full time, I was producing 1 book every 5 months, and at that point in my life, that was a record. Because before that, I was doing like 1 book a year or 1 book every 2 years for young adults and adults. Yes, to answer one of your questions, I do think it's important to get them out nearly as quickly as possible. Since going full time, I'm trying to get about 1 book every 3 months. What I've found, especially with the series, if you spread your books 5 months apart or a year apart, whatever the case may be, you may lose a lot of the readers. They forget. I mean, even if you have a mailing list and you send it out, they may have loved the book, but they don't remember why they loved it. And if they wanted a second book, they had to read the first book all over again. I mean, under that logic, at this point, I'm trying to get 1 book out every 3 months. I mean, in a perfect world, I would have about 1 a week, but I'm not that good, not yet. Still working on it.
We all would have 1 book a week.
Right. In terms of advertising, at this point in time, I probably spend 25 to 30% of my time working on the advertising. 90% of my advertising is through AMS ads. I think at this point, I have 22 ads open. As there's 22 ads, every single day I go through and I basically prune them. I have a general rule of thumb. If a book hasn't been purchased within 15 clicks, it's gone. I basically pause it and get rid of it.
How do you know that?
I'm sorry?
How do you know if it's not been bought in 15 clicks? Like what? Well, you know what I mean?
And honestly, you never know for sure. And the reason is because if your books are in Kindle Unlimited, it's not going to show you if people are reading it through Kindle Unlimited or not. However, the reason why I've stopped it at 15, because what I've learned over the last 2 years, in normal circumstance, if I haven't sold a book in 15 clicks, I usually won't sell one in 50 clicks. It just happens time and time again, at least 85, 90% of the time. So I've decided to take them out. And I mean, the second reason is my bids are typically 25 to 35 cents, and that can add up pretty quickly. Obviously, you can place bids out 2 cents, 3 cents. I've never had much success with that. For the very first day, I started at 25 cents. And I don't play around with it too much because I get good clicks there. I hope I'm allowed to talk about it, but on a monthly basis, I generally make $2,500 to $4,000 a month. And I can attribute as much as 85 to 90% of that to the Amazon advertising. I truly can. And for that reason, I will continue to use Amazon. I want to say AMS, they changed the name, but I will continue using Amazon advertising. Honestly, I tried Facebook ads. Throughout the years, I've tried them repeatedly. I've never had a ton of success with them. I know a lot of authors like us do have success with them. I've read Brian Meek's books, Michael Cooper's book. I've followed everything, and I've not been able to duplicate it. And those are wonderful guys. They have tons of clients. They have a lot of success, and I'm jealous of them. But for me, it's just something I haven't been able to accomplish, so I stick with AMS. But yeah, I do spend a lot of time on the ads. Since going full-time, probably my writing is 60% of my time.
So wait, so now here's the part where you maybe won't answer my questions, but when you are looking at your AMS ads and right now you've got 22 open, so then that probably means that you launched it's the end of the month. You've probably launched 40 or 50 or more this month, right? Because you said that you print them out as they're going in. What are you tweaking? Are they copies of the same ad? Are you like doing tweaks on ad copy? Are you like, what are the differences in your ads?
Typically, it's ad copy. I used to copy the ads because if you've got one ad that's making you hundreds or $1,000s a month, psychologically you think if I copy it, then maybe I'll make hundreds of $1,000s a month off the other ones. In my case, that's never happened. And copying the ads, let's say I have an ad that's pulling in $1,000 a month. If I copy the ad, all of the keywords and the actual words in it, as far as the ad goes, it never does more than $25 or $50 a month. It never has. So I'm not a big fan of doing that at all. I never, ever at this point copy the same keywords. I do use KDP Rocket to try to come up with new keywords all the time. I'll be 100% honest with you there as well. The best success that I've had through the keywords itself is actually finding them on Amazon myself, not through KDP Rocket or any other platform. Not even close. Because of that, my advice, and a lot of people will say, well, you're taking a step backwards 2 or 3 years if you're finding all the keywords yourself, which normally you find the keywords by your also bots, which is the authors and the books that they have. And I also like to game their also bots, which are usually gaming as many as 500 to 1,000 keywords from that.
Just author names or author names, categories, book titles? Like what keywords are you farming off that?
I specifically use author names and book titles. I don't use any other association, meaning I don't use phrases, negative keywords, none of that other stuff. Have I tried to use them? Yes, I have, of course. And one mistake that I made is when Amazon just changed recently the advertising, and they gave their suggested bids, which basically start at 75 cents and go even higher. My initial thought was, this is crazy, but if Amazon put it out, let me try it. I tried it for 1 week. I think my average keywords ended up costing about $1.25. At the end of that week, I was out hundreds of dollars. So taking those suggested bids is a huge mistake. I don't recommend it to anybody. Personally, I never, ever, ever go over 35 cents. It doesn't matter how much the book costs. If it's a $5 book, $15 book, $20 book, never over 35 cents.
All right.
Yeah, I accidentally put my bid as $45 instead of 45 cents one time. I know. It must have been
horrifying.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that I still had the daily limit as $10. But like I kept getting this email saying you've reached your daily limit. And I'm like, seriously? Like how? I've never done that before. So after 2 days, I sit down to look at it and that $100 gone in 2 days. How did that happen when my daily limit's $10? So you've got to
I bet they clicked near the same time, I bet.
I don't know. It's like 2 days, $100, like it ate up $100. I did get 3 sales or something, but it wasn't, obviously. But yeah, just watch that bid. You're right. You'd think, well, if you set $45 as your bid, you're going to win all the bids. But yeah,
of course. Eleanor, what you said about the $10 bids, that's similar to what I do. Every one of my bids starts at $5. If it runs out of money, of course, I'm going to double check it. They say increase your bid. If it seems like it's doing well, of course, I'm going to increase it. However, if it's a keyword that all of a sudden is getting like 40, 50 clicks in one day, and you say it's gone up like $5, $6, $7 all by itself, I kind of scratch my head. I'm like, do I risk taking this up higher because it is selling books? I just don't see them yet. Or do I leave it be? What I've always done, if you're spending $5 on one specific keyword in one day, and you can't see right away if it's actually making money or not, no, I don't increase the bids at all. I'll take it up to $10 to $15 for the entire ad. I'm not willing to lose that much money at one time on a maybe. We're all kind of gamblers when it comes to advertising. but there's some points you don't want to gamble too much.
So how many keywords do you put in an ad?
1,000.
Okay.
And do
1,000.
you
Or,
advertise? Oh, sorry, go. You say first, then I'll ask.
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I was going to say 1,000 or as close as I can get to it. I have several ads that are 800 or so. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Awesome. Do you advertise the first book in the series mostly, multiple ads, or have you got an ad running for all of your books at all given moments in time?
Up until 3 months ago, it was only the first book. The reason it was only the first book, because again, all of the advice I've ever received for series says only advertise the first book. The assumption is it's from people who have advertised more in the series and they didn't have success with it. So as of 3 months ago, I started advertising all of my books. The reason I did, because again, for me, it's always about testing to see how it does. They do okay. I definitely get more sales on the other books. Normally, it's with the automatic advertising. The automatic ads is where I get more sales at doing that. Same thing though, I call the ads and I've had a few for the other books, like My Fox Ate My Cake, My Fox Ate My Alarm Clock, where the manual ads have 1,000 keywords are really not doing well at all. Like the ACOS maybe 45, 50%, or even 60%, which is fine short term because you don't know if it's going to get better. But it's like that for a week. I'm like, I don't feel confident about this. So I've called a few of those. But to answer the question, yes, I do actually advertise all the books at this point, mainly with the automatic ads.
I've had more success with the automatic ads, but I think it's just because I'm lazy. You're doing the hard work and making making me feel better about my poor decision making. So let the automatic ad go. So yeah, there's that bit. Okay, so then like, how do you see yourself expanding in terms of advertisement? Like, do you see yourself continually growing your ad budget until you hit a peak, or like, do you have a strategy, or are you just kind of playing it like as it goes?
No, that's a good question, because up until this year, I was spending an average of $500 a month on AMS ads. Much like Lori Wright was telling you, I don't have any problem with Amazon taking my money. I mean, they would easily take $2,000 to $3,000 a month from me. Unquestionably, they would. I have to stop them, which is why I have to stay on top of my ads. At this point, I spend an average of $1,000 a month on the ads. The reason being, because before, again, my income's gone up from an average of 2,500 to closer to 4,000. And for me, with these series of books I have, these are the slower months, especially during the summer and in September. I mean, once November gets here, November through April, even November through May, my sales easily triple, unquestionably. I love that time. That time of year is
such
awesome.
a wonderful time of year.
I'm glad you said that. I was starting to wonder what is wrong with September.
No, this is terrible. It starts picking up like now, and it'll just like slow. So, and then like there'll be like dancing in the author streets, like starting in November. It'll be wonderful. We'll all be happy.
I agree with you. You know, one thing that I've seen a lot of authors say, and there's probably some truth in it for this month. Same thing we're talking about with ads earlier. The suggested Amazon ads, 75 cents to $1. It seems like a lot of authors have jumped on that bandwagon, which is fine because they want to test it too to see if it does great. But if there's thousands of authors bidding 75 cents to $1 for the same keywords that we are at 25 cents, 15 cents, or 10 cents, they're going to win the bid every time. They're going to be much, much higher. I mean, we're going further down the list. We may not be seen at all. A lot of people want to scroll to page 2 or page 3. They just want to see what's right in front of them. I get that. I'm that way. But I think the time will come probably in the next month or two, because buyers are going to start picking up on buying books a lot, and people are bidding 75 cents to $1 per bid or ad. All of a sudden, they're being charged hundreds or thousands of dollars when before they can spend more than $10 a month. And they'll be like, wait a minute, I'm selling the same number of books, but I'm spending hundreds or thousands of dollars. Honestly, I think that's what's going to happen. When that does, I think by November or December, our ads, once again, are going to jump right back up there. I hope.
So your strategy sounds amazing, you know, like online, which a lot of people can't create that online success with children's books. Do you also plan to do an in-person kind of marketing to quadruple your sales again?
I'm really glad you asked that question. When I first started publishing the middle grade books, my one and only attention, what I wanted to do was go into schools. That's the only aim that I had, because everything I've read in the past says the only way you can sell children's books is to go in schools. There's no other way. And I fully believe that, because that's what I've always heard. But once I put out my first book, to start making 200, 300, 500, 1,800, I'm like, wait a minute here. These people going into schools and not doing anything else. A lot of them, they say they're making $200 to $300 a month. And I said, wow, I'm making a lot more than that going strictly online. Because of that, I completely nixed the idea of going into schools. I don't have anything against it. I believe going into schools could very well double my income. I have no doubt about it. But one point of view that I've read and that I've taken is that the time that you spend going to schools and getting ready is the time that you can spend on advertising and putting out more books. And that's something that I've come to believe. It's a choice I've come to accept for more than one reason. I mean, I'm an introvert, unquestionably an introvert. At my jobs, I used to train classes and work one-on-one with people, which is fine when you work with one person or 10 or 15. But to me, going into schools, even though it's kids, if you're surrounded by dozens or hundreds, it's like, what do I do here? So the fact that I had such great success online, it gave me a sense of hope that I don't have to go and be scared and put myself in an uncomfortable position. I herald those who do go into schools and do that. Obviously, they can make more money than I do. But since I'm able to do as well as I do the way I do online, that's where I'm going to stick at.
You go, Marty. I can see the question on your lip.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so you're not doing school, like direct to schools, which is like I get that. Like the introvert in me likes to be able to have people like sort of wait until they ask you, which also we know is like one of my weaknesses as well as a strength, like wait for people to ask me. But I'm wondering, are you like just riding the Amazon marketing services ads until the end, or are you like, is there like a next step in your online marketing?
You know what? I've questioned that several times myself, and I kind of remind myself when I first started putting out the books, I was increasing sales without any ads. And remember, I had somewhat of a mini career with adult books before all of this. At that time, I was selling 12 to 15 copies of the Kindle books a month, which the people I was competing with, I was up there with Stephen King. I was right there. And it was amazing because remember, when I first started, I sold one book in 7 years. But thanks to the advent of Amazon, even before the ads came out, I put it up there. And for some reason, people connect with my writing. They really do, which is what I try to make sure of. As far as writing the AMS wave, that's a scary thought. And the reason is, I do believe in the next few years, that's probably going to disappear at some point. These type of things, they do, or become more of a paid service where if you want to subscribe to it for $100 a month or whatever the case may be, plus the price of the ads. Big companies like Amazon pretty much always go that route. They always have. So I foresee that type of thing happening, which is question. Here's something you guys are going to find really interesting. And I'm still not so sure about this. Last week, I actually started advertising on outdoor billboards because I wanted to see.
Wait, whoa, you buried the lead there, dude. Like, we need to hear the story about that.
Well, it's something I wanted to try because, well, it's another form of advertising. Why wouldn't we try it? Everything we do really is online, even if it's emails out to people. But what about drivers on the roads? It's not perfect because when we advertise online, we can go straight to the market we want to reach, the age level, the grade level, the parents, the genre they want to read. But if you put something out on the road on a billboard, thousands of people may drive past it that never read a book a day in their life, or they don't care about a kid's book because they read other genres. So they kind of look at it and go, hey, that looks interesting. Nice to see you. So that's it. But I've had them out for 2 weeks now. It's still a bit of a debate. I can tell you in the last 3 days, which may be just September, because again, sales are going to start going back up. My sales have doubled in the last 3 days, which puts a question mark there. Is it because of that? I don't know. And there's no way to know because there's no stats on it. You just have to kind of estimate, is it a lot better this way or a little bit better? I'm testing it. I mean,
I'm so happy for you to be testing. This is amazing. Okay. So did you do prep things for that? So like, I would think that like, if you saw it on a billboard that you would be all like, okay, the next time I'm at a bookstore, if I see the book, then I sort of remember from the billboard and maybe I'm like much more likely to buy it. So like, did you like make sure that your books are in stock around like at the bookstores? Does your billboard specifically send people to Amazon? Like, what's up? I need more information about this billboard thing.
Well, I was concerned about the billboards and putting Amazon on there, possibly infringing on rights, whatever the case may be.
Smart person.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be the case or not, but I was like, I don't want to risk that. I send them directly to my website, davidblazebooks.com. It's a huge sign on the billboard itself. Interestingly enough, davidblazebooks.com leads directly to Amazon, straight to my Amazon page. So they still get there kind of in a roundabout way. One of the reasons I got interested in it, here in Orlando, where I'm at, I saw a billboard about 3 years ago from John Grisham. It was a huge billboard. And when I saw it, I was like, what? Why would an author have a billboard? That didn't even make any sense because you just don't see those. That was there about 3 years ago and it's gone now, which tells me maybe there's not a whole lot of success there. Even John Grisham, his advertisers figured that out. It may be the case. I don't think I've ever seen another author billboard. I'm sure they exist, but certainly not widespread.
I definitely don't know any indie authors that have billboarded. So this is the first for me.
Yeah.
So like, that's not saying it's first, but definitely first for me. So then you're right. I do have like 1,000 questions. So I still have more. So then you put your website on the billboard. Beautiful, right? Fun.
Yes.
How are the clicks doing on your website?
The website itself, here's the other weird thing about that. Before 3 days ago, I haven't checked my website in almost 6 months, which was a huge mistake because I did not put my last 3 books on there. I came to find out I'm getting as many as 8,000 visitors a month. And the last week or so, it's been averaging, I think, 643 a day, which 6 times 30, 18,000 in a month's time frame or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it is leading a lot of people to the websites. I believe so. Is comparing it to last year or so? Absolutely.
That's as close to trackable as you're going to get with a billboard. And I mean,
you're right.
Like,
you're right.
AT&T can't do that because like people go to their website for so many other things. Like a couple billboards are not going to put a blip on that. But like that's saying something, particularly if you haven't launched other direct to your website advertising in the last couple of weeks. All right, that's fly. All right.
Thanks.
Very cool. All right. So we're gonna clearly need like hard updates on that.
Absolutely. I mean, and keep in mind, one of my original goals here in Orlando, I wanted to get my name out there more. So I have 7 billboards in Orlando itself. But,
7? You have 7 going on at once. Billboards.
Yes.
Wow.
But the other thing I wanted to find out, if the other areas, I have billboards in Los Angeles and Chicago and some of the bigger cities of Alabama. The reason being, a lot of the roads out there get between 7 million and 12 million drivers every single day going past them. So I wanted to try to reach out.
How much do billboards cost roughly?
Well, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's digital billboards out there now. If you've ever seen them. I mean, in Orlando, I see them all the time. They show one specific billboard for one ad for 10 to 15 seconds, and then it switches to another ad for 10 to 15 seconds. In Orlando, that's usually SeaWorld, Universal Studios, now mine, of course, added to it. But it's kind of like a shared expense on the billboards. You can, just like Amazon ads, you can put how much you want to pay per what they call a blip. The blip can range from $10, or rather 10 cents, up to $50. Just like with Amazon ads, the higher the bid, the more it's going to be shown. If
And
you
is
ever
it
want to,
your-
That's really cool.
go ahead.
On the ad, is it your book and the like a bit like how you do Amazon ads? Do you
I
have
was
your?
going to say that. Do you have the like? Can we see it? This is where you're going to stop.
We want to see a billboard.
We want to see your billboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have a copy of it with me, but I can definitely send a picture of it to you guys.
Send a
as
picture
early
to
as
us. We will
tomorrow.
stick it in the show notes. That will be amazing, and that will be people like a reason to go to the show notes. Although everyone goes because they're beautifully written, and who wouldn't want to be able to like take a look at the show notes? But
Right.
yeah, no, I gotta see this. But yeah, so without the picture at this moment, I'm sorry I cut you off, Elena. Is it like your book image? Did you just kind of treat it like a Facebook ad? Like, what's up with the billboard?
The main thing is, honestly, it is the book image itself. The way that was created, My Fox Ate My Homework, the title, is basically a logo all by itself. So half of the billboard has the artwork that simply says My Fox Ate My Homework. The other half of the billboard has the picture that's on the book cover, which is the fox and the books that's next to it. Underneath that, it has the website. Because what I discovered with billboards is typically they recommend you have 5 words or less on a billboard. Because driver attention spans, they can't, when they're driving 70, 80 miles an hour, they can't read every word on the billboard. If it's 3 words or 5 words, yeah, they're going to catch all of it at a glimpse, which is great. But yeah, I'll definitely get stats to you on the billboard itself, just so you can have an idea exactly how it's going and what it looks like.
All right, yeah, this is going to be amazing. I'm excited for this. I mean, I'm excited for a lot of the things that you said. Like, I've got a lot of notes written down, so like, don't feel like this is the only takeaway. But like, this is definitely new for me, so I'm really excited to learn more. We are pretty much out of time. Elena, do you have and now it's like you just opened up a whole new thing right at the end, which I feel like is unfair. But Elena, do you have one more question that you want to throw in before we sign off?
Yes, one more question. So what I want to know from your expertise and experience, and particularly, you know, that you've gone through the advertising route to promote and get your name and books out there, do you think, or have you experienced that, like, advertise a book and if it starts to take off, then advertise it more because it's proving that it can succeed with advertising? And like, do you have a book where it hasn't, for example, succeeded with advertising yet? Is your approach to keep advertising it, or is it not selling, for example, because maybe it doesn't appeal or something else has to be improved? Do you understand my question?
Yes. My intention is to keep advertising the books as long as they appear to be successful. As long as it shows a positive range. And yes, I've had a book. I have one right now that's not successful through Amazon advertising. I wrote it last year. It's called Janie Gets a Genie for Christmas. I advertise it the exact same way, and it doesn't sell anywhere near as good. Kind of what we were talking about earlier. I do try to change the ads. I'm in the process of changing the book cover, because when we talked about the trifecta earlier, one of the main things is the book cover itself. If people don't associate with it, they look at it right away and they're like, I don't want this book. It doesn't matter what's in the book. They're not going to read the preview or anything like that. But yeah, I still advertise that book as well because I'm a little bit crazy. I want to see if I can turn it around. And I've been advertising it for almost a year now. It's only moderately. I think the ACOS on it is 35 to 40%. To me, that's too high. I never, ever like to go over 32%. I prefer to be in the range of 9 to 15%.
Wow, that's pretty good tight range. to get it into. I don't think I've gotten any of my books into that percent. So that's something to work
Sure.
on. Okay, fantastic. All right, great. Thank you so much. We've learned so much from you today. It's been amazing.
And we already know the topic of our part 2.
Absolutely.
Marty's planning ahead. Always planning ahead. But it's certainly, for me personally, reminded me that there's always more that can be done online to become successful, even as a children's book author. So we can do a whole lot more online. So thank you so much for sharing. Like, you really went into great detail, and we really, really appreciate that. Tell us where we can find your books, not on a billboard, but online.
Well, online is well, the main place is going to be Amazon. The second place, I mean, obviously you'll find it in Goodreads. It's on my website, which is davidblazebooks.com. I wanted davidblaze.com, but it was taken. They'll let me have it $500. No, thank you. So davidblazebooks.com is where you find it at.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. And Elena, will you remind everyone where they can find us online?
You can go see that amazing photo of the billboard. Okay, hint,
It's going to be
hint.
amazing. I'm
Come
excited.
to the website at www.indiekidlitpodcast.com. We'll see you on our next episode. I'm sure it'll be just as wonderful and informative. And thanks again to David for being our guest today.
Thank you.